So, good morning. We are about to go live, or we are already live, and we are starting now our talk. Let's call it this way, because the idea is really to have a conversation. We want to start by acknowledging the participation of all of you, and especially our partners that are spread across Europe. And it was a tough journey to get to where we are today. So thank you all for being here at this, the last event of our LearningShift journey that started a few years ago. As you know, this is an European-funded project. So LearningShift was selected by the European Commission under the Erasmus Plus program. And when we started, we could not imagine what we would have in place for the next 2 years, and we would never imagine that we would end up with COVID and being closed in our small laptops and our offices. But when we started with a mission. We had a dream, and we wanted to change education. And we wanted to do it in a shared way. So we wanted to gather people from across Europe and organizations from across Europe to be able to start something, or at least to be able to give life and to energize those who already started but were feeling a little bit alone. So what we have done for the past 3 years is that we try to connect people, to connect experiences, to connect schools, and we try to understand how we could use education to change the world and how we could do our best to design and facilitate new learning spaces and new learning agents. To be honest, it was a very fruitful journey. It was kind of strange to see how people were developing learning experiences across Europe and how different learning systems can be. But it was also nice to see that you can find in different learning environments, in different countries, in different levels of education, you can find always people that share the same dream and that are willing to share their inspiration and what they are doing just to change the world. So there's no doubt that a learning revolution is already in place. It's a question of knowing if you want to join the revolution now, or if you want to just be caught by the revolution 2 or 3 years from now. What we decided was we wanted to take the revolution now. We wanted to lead the revolution. We wanted to take part on this revolution. So this was an invitation to join, to take this leap of faith and to do something different. And for the past 3 years, we are 6 organizations from 5 different countries, and we have universities, we have private schools, public schools, we have private companies, we have people that are more devoted to research and people that are more devoted to practice. But we try to gather all our efforts and see how the expertise of each one of us could support the role and the work of the others to ensure that we could do our best to design and facilitate new learning spaces and agents. So we had a shared vision. We tried to develop a common language. As you can imagine, it's not easy when you are working with different cultures, different languages, different costumes, different ways of doing education. But we tried to organize a common language, and we agreed on something, that we don't have to take the same pathway to take the same journey. So we knew in the beginning of this project what we wanted to have at the end. So we knew what our dream was, we knew what we aimed for, but we also knew that we wouldn't be able to trace one unique pathway to get there. And we do believe that in education and in learning experiences and learning spaces, you need to have diversity, and you are much more rich when you are able to have diversity. So the idea was not to define one best way to do things, one best way to design schools, one best way to design a learning experience. The idea was to create options on how to create meaningful and committed and real learning experiences. And we did it by starting first with a manifesto where we defined some basic principles on what is this mission to become a learning agent. Then we have created a web-based community. If you are still not in our web-based community in Facebook, please join. And the idea is to create a group of people that support each other and that share the same values and the same principles, and they want to change the educational setting, so they support each other. And we also created a learning academy that we can later on let you know more about. We met a lot of problems. We met resistance. We met some difficulties. We met COVID during the process, but we survived. We are here. And today we have the opportunity to share with you, and we are pleased to know that we have people from all over the world, not just Europe, joining us online. And we are really pleased to share with you everything that we created. But instead of doing it in a very traditional format where we would just present you PowerPoints and let you know what we have, we decided, hi Sophia. So
hi.
We'll have to, Sophia is going live in our first group of people that will be talking, and I will let you know the rules on how we will work this morning. So I was telling you that the idea is that we share what we have, but especially we share our view, but we expect you also to participate and to ask questions and to share your own perspectives, because we suppose that if you register for this, is because you are really interested in being a learning agent. So we are also counting on your inspiration and your strength and your effort to support us. So let's make this a conversation. Just to make this conversation more easy to manage, we will ask the speakers, the ones that are invited to talk as speakers, to just turn your mics and cameras on when you are actually speaking in your time slot. And then if you are not, you can turn it off. Otherwise, you will always pop up in the screen. And in the meantime, we will have session 1, our learning community and our learning agents. In the break, we will do something that we think could be interesting for those who want to join. We will do a cocktail session, so we will have the opportunity to meet randomly people that are actually in the session, and you will have the opportunity to meet 3 persons, different persons, and to talk with them and to get to know something about them and to maybe connect with someone that will support you in your learning journey. And then we will have a 5 minutes break to coffee and cookies in your home or your office. And then we will have session 2 about design learning experiences, and we will have questions and answers and a video that our colleague Lisa from the Aalborg University was kindly enough to send us, as she will not be able to attend face-to-face our session. So let's stop with my talk, and I will invite Sophia and Luis and Raimunda to join the session. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And I'm just missing Luis. So Raimunda and Luis were our learning agencies. They were the ones that were courage enough to go, hi Luis, now I can see you. You can turn your mics on if you want to. Luis and Raimunda were kind enough to go to Finland when we had our training for the LearningShift project. They were courage enough to be like the pilot testing participants. And I will start there. How was it to be involved in this project without knowing? We didn't share a lot of information when we organized the pilot session, but what was your motivation to attend the Learning Shift training agents, and how did it change your life, if it changed in any ways?
Well, my passion has always been meaningful learning with origin in the learner, and that's why I never teach by a textbook. So when I saw the possibility to join the Learning Shift with Autumns, I was just thrilled and just put out an application immediately without even knowing if I could get the time off from work or if it was okay with my family. So it was just like a call, like a golden opportunity to make a change in learning. And I really strive to continuously develop my own teaching to benefit the learners and to make their time in school purposeful. And I'm still learning though. So by participating in the Learning Shift in Finland, it was an amazing experience and just an explosion of energy and passion and enlightenment, play, and just this commitment of making a change and a feeling of belonging to a very special group of people from so many different countries, but shared the same goal of making education great to change the world in the future. And during the 5 days, we shared experiences and knowledge and methods and mindsets and just passion for learning and for the learners. And we created a movement of meaningful learning, taking a point out of the individual learner. And I was just so happy to be able to be a part of that. Well, actually, I was just joining your movement, but it gave me kind of a feeling of being able to co-create with you guys, and I was just on fire after that week. It was just amazing. So when I came back to Denmark, I was just like a bubbling feeling of energy and wanting to change everything. So I kind of, like, the first day back at my school, I kind of paused entering the school, and I was just like, wait, this is actually the feeling I want all my students to have every day when they leave my classroom, right? And I was just, that's what I'm gonna create with all that experience I took from you guys. So I'm trying to show also my coworkers how can playful learning, or the playful approach of learning, engage the learners and really make them want to join the teaching and want to join whatever activity you do in class, and show how an experimental learning culture really can motivate the students to take part of their own learning and make their own journey worthwhile. And one of the things that really struck with me is how to put on sunlight on the student voice, right? So they can take ownership in their learning and engage and find it purposeful to actually be in school and do the work, and why they have to do the work. So I try to co-create with the students when I do project-based learning, or even though it could just be a regular basic math class or something, to get them more involved and give them like a sense of responsibility, because when they co-create with me, they put in the work also, and we do it together. So if they want it to be fun, they have to come up with suggestions and stuff, and then they can't just pull out and say, nah, this is boring, because they made it with me, you know? Yeah. And I also try to get feedback actually from the students on my teaching. That's can be pretty harsh sometimes. But that's how I developed, I think, and with all the great experiences and thing we got back from Finland, I still fail, and I fail a lot, but I'm learning. But that's that's the process of the students also. They have to learn. No, they have to fail to learn. But it also has to be fun and experimental, and they have to take part of of their own learning. So, and Anna, you taught me that educators are not superheroes. So that kind of took off some of the pressure. but we can choose to make a significant difference for the learners, and that's really what I try to do. And I try really to bring all my coworkers with me on this journey. And in my school, I'm one of the speakers for this change in education, and that has been just a really great experience. And
that's amazing,
because they're like my Danish partner in crime,
So, picking up on this golden message that you were talking about, Raimunda, you have a different role because you are a trainer of teachers. You work for the, correct me if I'm wrong, but you work for the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching for the University of Kaunas, isn't it? It's a long name.
That's a long English name. Well, and Lena, you have to help me if that was right. But I'm what do you call? I'm also a math teacher, so doing regular classes, also teaching students from 10 till 13 in math. But I also guide my colleagues in project-based learning and how that works, and try to push in all I can with these great experiences.
Yeah, great. And you, Raimunda, so how do you, I'm not being able to listen to you. Can you speak a little bit louder? We have no sound from your side. No.
No.
Not at this stage.
No sound on me?
No.
You have sound.
We can hear you. We cannot hear Raimunda.
Okay.
So let's see if Raimunda manages to put the mic on. Nope. Do you want to try it without the headphones, or if you disconnect it, maybe it's no. I'll just try it. So, Sophia, can I ask you a conversation? You weren't able to attend in Finland, but you attended for sure different learning experiences that triggered your career as an educator. So what was the event or the person or the student that triggered the need to change something in your life and that motivated you to become a learning agent?
Actually, I've wanted to be a teacher since I was really little and really small. From a young age, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I grew up and became a math teacher. I went to teach, and I always found that what I was doing didn't feel like enough. I got to the kids, I talked to the kids, I got them motivated, and then it always seemed like there was something failing. And one day I met one of my ex-students in school, and I met it outside school. I wasn't teaching him anymore. And I said, so how did you do? I had a really tough time with that kid because he really didn't like math. And I really took an effort to talk to him and get him to understand math. And when I finished that year, he was studying, he was liking it, he was committed to math. So I thought, okay, The next year I saw him and I asked him, how was it? And he said, I'm not that good. So on that time, I understood that things really need to change because we all need to do our part on picking up kids and showing them how great learning can be. And then a few years later, I got an invitation to come and work with the Scholé, and I got introduced to a new way of teaching, which was project-based learning that I didn't know at that point. I wasn't aware. And it actually changed the way I saw how we could teach. And it finally made sense to me that the reason I was so uncomfortable with teaching usually and on the regular curriculum was because actually I knew that there had to be something else to do with the kids. So right now I use project-based learning and things make a lot more sense to me, and seeing the kids being able to evolve on all levels, not just on their skills, but their values, their knowledges, everything gets brought up at the same pace. It really gets me going, and it's actually why I'm motivated. I mean, like Luis was saying, we are not superheroes, but I think we owe our kids to try to be superheroes, or as much superheroes as we can be, to help them and to be there for them.
So, Raimonda, can you
hear me now?
Yes.
Nice to hear from you.
Okay.
We were now listening to Sophia, but we were waiting for you because you have a different perspective. You train the teachers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
And when Luis was saying that now I fail, and it's still that strange feeling of failing should be something bad because that's what we are taught, but then failure could be a learning experience in itself. So how do you teach the teachers to become also learning agents?
Okay, so hello everyone again. I'm sorry for this technical trouble, and this is the beauty of online communication. So I've been teacher trainer for 6 years, working for EduLab. This is the shorter version for that long name of the department at Kaunas University of Technology. And I also been a teacher, university teacher for 18 years. And I always wanted, to when I saw that something is not working with students, I always strive to change something, and that's why I came to EduLab. And after a few years working there, we were invited to LearningShift training. And as always, I'm always, saying yes to all the new experiences, especially learning experiences. And that was really an inspiring journey for those 5 days. And also, I would say it fueled our team of EduLab and inspired us to, and maybe confirm that what we are doing is worthwhile and it is working. Okay, because that training in Tampere gave me like 3 main things that I brought from their home. So first, that was that sense of community that Liz also mentioned, and you feel that teachers coming from different stages of education system, from kindergarten to secondary school, college, university, everyone, they all have different perspectives, different contexts, but still they have this one wish to empower students, to make their journey enjoyable, engaging, and it doesn't matter whether it's kindergarten children or university students, they also want to be engaged. And so being that part of the community also inspires you not to give up when you feel that maybe this year the group of students is not as they do not want to be engaged as much, as you had like last year. And it's usually like it comes and goes in waves. Sometimes students are more willing to join you in that journey, and sometimes they just want to be left alone. So for me, having had all those different experiences, but also seeing that there is the positive wave and that enthusiasm helps, I always try to share that experience, that positive, good experience with teachers, and say that if something doesn't work for the first time, don't give up. And because I know from my experience that there are, some ups and downs in that process. Another thing that I also brought from Tampere is understanding that the learning space is very important. And I think that in Lynn's presentation, they say that that spaces communicate. So when I came from that training, I really tried to change the spaces where I was working. And it's really hard if you imagine the traditional university setting. So it's like rows of tables, and you cannot easily play with those as we did with those small, model chairs and things that we try to imagine how this ideal classroom would look like. So basically what I try to do is before every class, I would come early and just try to arrange the tables in different style according to what I wanted to communicate. And it was really like some physical work, because then afterwards I would have to rearrange them in the traditional way. But I was really enjoying the way students reacted to that change, because when they come into classroom and they expect the traditional setting, and you force them to, for example, sit in a circle. So of course they won't have this resistance and not wishing to maybe participate. But afterwards they leave with this sense of like accomplishment, that they have accomplished something. They became a part of, an active participant of something. So, and I was really inspired by the different schools that we saw in Tampere, and the way you could feel that the students there, whether it's primary school children or those vocational school students, they are doing something and enjoying that. I really want to bring that to Lithuania, because sometimes we don't have that. We don't have this pleasure in like Louise, she's talking with that energy and, enjoyment that you have with children. But I also have that, I want to have that with students. And that third thing the idea that I already had in me, and, when you have a feeling that you want to do something and it should work and it's working for you, but you don't know the words, how it is called. So we had this wonderful presentation by Dr. Louise Klinger, I think. So she just reinforced what I had in me, that you have to create this communication and collaboration. The teacher and student shouldn't be just, giver and taker, but they should work together towards this, joint goal. And maybe at university you have the goal of doing research, but not with undergraduate students. You have to still involve them into that process and show them how to learn and how to become lifelong learners, which is still missing in our education system, at least in Lithuania. And basing on that idea, on that relational intelligence and self-determination theory, I think that was called, where you have to show your support, the communication, that you care, that your empathy to students. So we created the new training course called Empowering Students Through Metacognitive Strategies. Basically, what I try to do is to ask teachers to help students think about their thinking, think about their learning, reflect on that, which is really new, I think, in especially in technical university. When you say a word reflection, they say, oh no, it's social sciences. Okay, this doesn't work for us. So I want to say that this really works. And when students start to think and try to see that teacher cares, their attitude changes and their motivation changes. So I just want to spread that feeling, that knowledge, that good practice, and also really enjoy that those case studies in the MOOC, in LearningShift website. But to say the truth, they like EdLab or there are some private schools as cases presented there, but it's still only some individual cases, and I really want to have this vision for all the schools in Lithuania.
Okay. Thank you, Raimunda. Talking about spreading the word, I was telling to Louise that one of the things that I really wanted her to talk about was the experience that she had at the high-tech high school. Because I didn't have a chance to go there, but I followed Louise posts through Facebook. And if you think she's enthusiastic talking about her experience in the LearningShift project, that's because you probably didn't saw her posts about the experience in the high-tech high school. So Louise, you have to share what you lived in the USA by visiting the high-tech high. Can you turn your mic on, please?
Yeah, that was so amazing as well, of course. And high-tech high is a totally project-based learning school. And how can I say, all the learners know why they're there and really take ownership in their own learning, and just to see them at the school. You could take any student and they would tell you why they're here and why they're learning what they are and where they're going. And they love the school, and they love the way to learn through project-based learning, and it made it meaningful. And we were just blown away by all the projects they're doing and how they really engage the students, and how the teachers are so full of life and energy and empathy, and just take all the students under their wings and take part and do a difference in their life, because they engage with the students and do the teaching from all the individual students' perspective. So they engage the students' lives in the teaching. So all students have their own voice in every project and have their own angle to show where they come from, what they're all about, what they feel, how they experience art or whatever. And that just blew me away. And I would love all our schools to do the same. And their teachers are amazing, and they put a lot of hours into their students and their teaching, and a lot of collaboration, what can be hard in Denmark, to find time to actually collaborate with your colleagues. And that's really, really a shame. And they do a lot of, what do you call it? If they have a dilemma or a problem, they use their coworkers to actually solve the problem, or make a greater lesson for the students. Or if they have a project on, I don't know, the Holocaust, they talk to all their colleagues, and maybe some have done a project already or have a good inspirational text or whatever. So they use each other a lot to make themselves better and a better educator, and make a greater teaching. And that's what I'm really trying to capture, also to bring back to my coworkers, because we can do a lot on our own, but we're so much better together. And yeah.
So a question for the three of you: if you were to design a training for teachers at this stage, with all that you already lived and all that you already know, what would be the key features that you think a teacher training should have? You took a teacher training at some point in your life. Was it useful? What would you change? What are the key competences, skills, knowledges that you think are relevant for a teacher at this stage of the learning environments that we have across the world?
I think I can. Okay, I took a teacher's course, and for this kind of way, for this new way of teaching, this thing that all makes sense for all of us, or at least for what I'm hearing, makes sense and talks to us. I think what Louise was saying is really important, the being able to work with each other. So I think that team building skills, co-working skills are really important. And at least in Portugal, teachers aren't trained to work together. We are trained to have our own class, our own kids for a period of time. So it's my, and we need to be able to share, because actually I do believe as well that we are better together. I work with three other teachers in my classroom, and it's something that is really hard to do. In the beginning, it was really hard for me to figure out how can I manage all these input in the things that I'm doing, and receiving and giving feedback constantly and managing this. I think it's something that teachers actually need to learn. And also being aware of the kids. I think what Raimundo was talking about engaging with the kids, the being aware of how they are, the need to be close to the kids and to talk to them. I think at least I took a training for kids that are over 12 or 13, and that part isn't that much explored. So we know the overall development of the child and the teenager, but we actually aren't very motivated to be close to them. It's just like they learn like this. It goes like this. So it's not like if you listen, if you go near him, if you talk to him, he'll engage with you and he'll be more aware. I think that part is missing. So I think these two features would be key if I had to plan something like this.
I think most of the most important thing is, oh, sorry. Is it me? Okay. I think the most important thing is to show, don't tell, because we have a lot of people coming from outside telling us what could be great and what models should we use and stuff. But going to High Tech High, we're like in the real life and could, feel the students and see the teaching. So when I'm trying to bring this on to my coworkers, I want to show them how it works. I want to bring them in my classroom, see we have all kinds of crazy seating as well due to the learning environment. So like, how is it possible to make teaching in a beanbag chair, and why does that work? And show them how you engage the students and take them under your wings instead of just telling what could be good. I think that's really important.
Okay, so the situation with university teachers is a little bit different, because usually university teacher doesn't have teacher training. They don't have any course in pedagogy. They just become master students, they doctoral students, and when you're a doctoral student, you have to go to teach. And what do? You just teach the way you were taught. And this is like a vicious circle. And when you try to tell teachers that you have to change the way you teach, they say, okay, I was taught in that way and it worked for me. Okay, so now we have to spread this message that this isn't working anymore. And I recently had a teacher training, and one lecturer said, okay, so students come to university, get knowledge, I give them knowledge. Okay, so this is like still that this is me, this is the student, and I transfer something into their heads. But to understand how this works, how the student brain works, and the way the learning happens, I think is really important to understand that. And I think that if I were to once again design a new teacher training, so as Sophia said, that communication among teachers, first of all, because we tend to be lonely islands, especially at university. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I left. This summer, I left my university teacher career. I stopped it because one of the main reasons was that I didn't have this feeling of belonging to something, because after restructuring of university, we don't have smaller departments. We're just one huge faculty, and teachers, they are grouped according to their research. So if you are a researcher and university teachers focus mostly on that, you don't have enough time to talk about teaching problems, pedagogical problems. And so I think EduLab is creating those spaces where teachers could talk and could see that these things are needed, because learning should happen in classroom. It's not only lecturing and receiving the lecture. So the communication between teachers and working in groups and developing the trust towards each other, because teachers in Lithuania, they are reluctant to invite anyone into their class, into their lecture, and they don't want to be criticized, but we want to show that this is an opportunity for learning, and they can become better through this type of communication. And also communication with students, how we should communicate, how can we collaborate with students, because we are all in one boat. So just communication, I think, is one of the major things that needs to be trained.
Thank you. For the past weeks or months, one of the things that affected all schools and all learning facilities was the COVID situation and the pandemic. So we could listen and read for a lot of experts letting us know how the world would change and how education would change due to COVID, and how people would use this opportunity to change the learning opportunities, and how we would use this negative event to do something new and something positive at the schools. Do you see this happening, or do you think, how was it to be a teacher during the pandemic? And how do you see, if you see it happening, how do you see these negative events impacting or doing something fruitful for the future of learning?
Well, I can go. For me, it was really hard, online teaching. At some point, it became really hard. As I said, I work on a project-based learning approach, so we actually value a lot kids' input, the being with them, the understanding them, and there are small things that kids can do. I work with kids from 6 to 10 years old. And actually, it's the small things that get you to realize they're missing something, they're lost in their way, they aren't understanding. So it's really the being close part that helps you to create a project. So once that got out of the equation, we kind of had to choose what did we want to do. Did we want to teach them knowledge and give them knowledge? Or was it more important to keep the relationship flowing? So we kind of chose more the relationship part than the knowledge part. So mainly we got together, we did project, we continued doing project, and they did learn some things. But our focus began to get them to be with each other, to see each other on a daily basis, to talk to us, to maintain this relationship that we have built over a few years with them. And I really, really loved coming back, I have to be honest. I miss them a lot. I miss hugging them and being close to them and hearing them even when they feel like rolling their eyes and say, oh. It's even that I've missed, I have to be honest. It's really good having them there. And I feel I appreciate a lot more that part. So for me, personally, it was really important to come back to see how I need the contact and being with them and physically being together. Overall, I don't see that much change in the education, at least that I'm aware of. People went online and then they are now back, and nothing has really changed in the way we do things. At least here in Portugal, I'm not seeing that much willing. We are hearing about computers being given to schools so that kids, if they have to go online, will have more resources. But even that is something that you hear about being given, not yet received. So not sure if it will happen. But in the main of changing practices and the way we see the kids and the awareness of the impact this pandemic had on them, because at the school, the first month during the holidays, the kids were really euphoric to be together. They were like crazy. It was really tiring to be with them. It was great. I loved it, but it was really exhausting because they were really needed for attention to be together. And then they were really selfish because they were used to having everything for themselves. So it still is a process of getting to know the new kid that came off 3 months at home. So who are you now? What can I do? So I think that part, I feel it's being still a little bit missed in most schools, that worrying about who are you now, in opposed to who were you when you left home for home during the pandemic lockdown. So I don't see that much change. I think it's really needed, but I'm not seeing that for now.
Can I say now? Okay, so with university teaching, I think there are two groups of teachers now. So one group is those who just keep doing what they were doing, just giving lectures, sometimes really an hour and a half lecturing and showing slides. And maybe for them, it seems easy because they don't see the reactions of students. They just speak sometimes to those black screens because students switch off cameras. But there are those other teachers who try, now they are forced, if they want to make the interactive lecture, they are forced to communicate more and more with students. And the challenge is how you make, where are the boundaries of student personal space? How much can you ask of him? Do I have to ask him always to have camera on, or is this, violation of privacy? So we have all those different questions. But I think that there are some teachers who want to do something differently. But there are things that you cannot do. For example, I teach in EduLab training. My focus is on assessment. So I constantly get questions. So how do we assess differently in online environment? And I say we don't, because the tasks should be, how can we trust students? So I say the tasks should be designed in such a way that students show their, improvement, achievements, but not just, giving back you the knowledge that you gave them. So it's just the teachers have to have this creativity in creating different tasks and see what doesn't work. Because I think in spring, when we were forced to work online, so we went on this safe mode and we just kept doing what we were doing in face-to-face class. But now we already, had maybe gained some experience, learned something through summer, and I think that there are some teachers who are really doing good and engaging activities where they, group students into those breakout rooms and create discussions and make livelier lectures than they were face to face.
Yeah, I can say that when we were sent home for the pandemic, the first time, we kind of panicked and we're like automatically going back to old-fashioned teaching, right? Giving them assignments and they have to do it, and I would correct them because it was an unexperienced period, and you're like, you can't do project-based learning when you're online. But then we learned, I find that it was actually great to do something online. And first, the kids were really insecure and scared and didn't want to put on their camera. And then we were locked down for like 2 months or something, and they were just happy to see each other. And when I finished speaking or teaching or whatever, and I was like, okay, that's it for today, they're just like, can we stay a little longer? And can we do? And I found it more flexible. So when I put out a math assignment, they would just write me all day. Can we just go on? Can you show me the triangle, something? Or so at that time, because I didn't have to do anything else, I could be available for my students when they had the time or the motivation to do something with math. So in that way, I found them much more engaging during the assignment, because we just put out assignment or essays or whatever for 1 day, and they could choose if they wanted to do it 8 o'clock at night or whatever. And then we had some appointments online, like from 10 till 11, I will see you online and we'll do something together. And we would show up with funny hats or favorite snack or anything funny to break the ice. And yeah. So actually some of our older kids, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, still do some online teaching. And in other schools in Denmark, they found it very useful for the kids to discipline their own time and to do something online and something at school. So I think somewhere in some schools in Denmark actually have made a change and found the benefits of also being able to connect online, to connect on different times that don't have to be in school, do group work at night or whatever they decide is best for them. And also connecting out, you know, we got the whole world at our feet, you know. So doing uh, food waste or anything, they could actually call a company and interview them online and stuff. Yeah, that was great. But I miss my kids, and I'm so glad to be back. And I'm a hugger, so that was my best thing to come back. You know.
Okay, so one question from Manuel and one question from my side so that we can finish and you can all have your break. Manuel is asking, how can you see this pandemic as an opportunity for a true and lasting learning shift? And Andrews is also asking, have you noticed that students are often not as good at learning technology as their teachers? And I think this is still a misconception that digital natives should flourish online. You have the questions in the live chat, so if you couldn't understand the message, you can read them. If any of you wants to share your perspective.
Yes, so the opportunity for a true and lasting learning shift. I think that this should come from teachers, especially university teachers, have to have this wish to change something, because they can always take this safe road and just go with that lecturing. But if they want to change that, I think this is quite a good opportunity, because they have to start thinking and how the students feel, what they want to do. And it's really difficult to stay focused to just staring at screen. So they constantly have to ask a question, so why am I doing this? Because students are asking that. Why should I sit here if I'd rather go and, you know, have a chat with my friend on Facebook, or I just, you know, go grab some snack. So that question, why am I doing that? Why students have to listen to me? I think if they have this question in their head, the shift might happen. But it's always it always depends on the desire of the teacher himself. Yes, and and about those apps or all the tools, online tools. Yes, I also noticed that it's really, if teacher wants to use a variety of tools, so I always suggest don't do that. Choose one and let the students get used to that tool so that they know. Because yes, it takes so much time if you introduce some new tool, some online platform, and students get lost and they have lots of questions. So yes, sometimes I also wonder, what about that digital age generation? That they are not so used to, you know, doing things online.
For the digital part, I could just say I'm really not good at it. So I would present something to my students and have them learn it and then learn it to me. That's much easier. And when we use Zoom for online meetings. So they would teach me how I could see all the students at the same times and stuff. So they can do it much better than me. Yeah.
I think that for both parts, it's almost like a matter of need. We went online at least most teachers went online for a totally different way. So we felt the need to do something that would work, because we could see that kids were unmotivated, wouldn't come, they turn off their cameras and would go for a walk around the house and then come back and say, what were you saying? I didn't hear the problem with the computer. So I think we felt the need to move and to do something different. So it allowed us to find research. Louise was talking about doing project-based learning online. So it was like, what can I do? I need to do something. So it created in teachers the need to do something different. And hopefully And I truly believe that who felt this need will manage to keep it going, even though now we can be, at least in Portugal, we are all on a face-to-face learning again. So I think we bring these skills that we got during the pandemic and the resources that we felt the need to improve ourselves, and now we can use them on our classes. And about technology, I think it's also the need. Teachers need, because I think we have this knowledge that they are better than us in technology, so we really need to learn. And we need to get on, I mean, I had to learn how to use Zoom because I didn't, and Teams, which was also a tool that we used. So I had to figure out how to do it so I could at least explain them what it was. And then they were free to explore. But the first part, I mean, the background changing, they understood it like that. They knew how to do it. But we have the need to understand different resources, different technological resources, and we found there our motivation. So kids aren't that, don't feel that need to learn. So maybe they take a little bit more time because they go exploring as we introduce them to the technology. But ultimately, I think they can outpass us because if they really into it, they will like. I mean, yeah, I changed my background a few times because they said, no, you go there, now you go there. So I think it's a matter of the way we see things for them, for what they really want to. And when they feel the need to use different technology, they do and learn it really quickly. We actually need to learn because most of the times we don't go to a different program with approach like, I manage, I can do this, I got it. No, but they do. They're like, it's new. Okay, so I'll press here. No, I'll press here. No. We as grown-ups are more afraid of maybe I'll get this all down and I don't know, maybe I can just touch here. So I think the way we approach technology is different. So maybe that's why we have teachers having at first some more skills and more knowledge of technology. But once kids are introduced to it, I think they are getting back and they outrun us on the way of working with it.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So I also thought about, that feedback that teachers are used to, when we teach, especially at university, we have those an hour and a half long lectures. So we are used to getting nonverbal feedback from students. And now, since we don't get that feedback, so we are forced to, at least if I'm interested in what my students think, how they feel, I'm forced to make those reflection tasks where they give me back some pieces what they've taken from the lecture. So, and reflection, I think, is one of the key competences, key skills that a lifelong learner should have. He or she should be able to reflect on the process of learning and see, what works, what doesn't work. So, once again, towards that, with regards to that lifelong learning, I think this is one of the things that could contribute to that competence of lifelong learning. We are forced to make students reflect.
Okay. One last question so that we can finish this conversation and have our cocktail party and our break. Some of you know me. I don't believe in change by pushing and pushing and pushing. I do believe in change by invitation and by showing it and trying to some way seduce people to our side, but in a positive way. But if you were able to ask something from your school managers, your school directors, to be able to apply the change you want to see in your school, what would it be?
That's unfair for me, okay? Because you are my school director, so that's a kind of, it's not fair. So I'll have to think for a little bit for my part.
For me, what I'm now constantly getting back to is for students to be able to make more choices. So now our education system and the way we manage information and the way we manage all the things like assessment, participation, and things, it's very stiff, and students don't have this flexibility. And now there is more and more talk about the way students could choose the way they want to be assessed, the way they want they could demonstrate their achievement, their results, their skills. And so I would encourage like think about that flexibility in student choice, because if students are allowed this choice, they are already young adults, so they have their preferences, their priorities. And I think that teachers always want to be in control, and when they don't want to lose that control because they think that won't be able to manage. But just remember that we have to collaborate, and we also have to hear what students want. And the new idea that I heard like 2 weeks ago in one training, they said that, have you ever asked a student what he or she wants to be, what he or she wants to receive feedback on? When you give feedback, you decide what you want to see, say this are good, this is bad. You decide on the criteria, but maybe the student wants to be assessed on something else. Maybe he wants to know how he's doing in other things. So just asking the students and giving them choice, I think it would be wonderful.
I just propose, I have math lessons, but I also have time to go to a team meeting with some colleagues, or I do math in different classes to motivate the brightest kids or pick up the kids that have difficulties with math. But I proposed to my school leader that I wanted to go like 1 month or 3 months with a different teacher and just do a collaborational teaching, showing and letting them do the work and me giving feedback and planning together. And I think really, like Anna said, we have not to push, but we have to pull and show. I think that's the way we should do it at our school, because we are on year 3 in adapting project-based learning, and still not many classes are doing very great. So because we're only telling what to do, and we have to show and experience together. So I propose that could be an option for us to really develop teaching and learning.
Okay, so from our part, Anna and I, the school has 5 years, and we'll be working together all day, every day. So it's she really, when she says she leads by example, it's true, and it's hard to find something that I would like to change. But overall, and making the bridge about if I wasn't in this school and this kind of school where we do have time to meet with our colleagues. I mean, we are 4 teachers teaching a group of 30 kids, so 37 kids. So it's about being together, and we do have time to be together. We do have time to get the feedback from the kids. Because the school was actually created for project-based learning, and that makes a lot of difference. It didn't need to change, and so that makes a difference. But I would say that being able to have time to talk with other teachers was something that I always felt in other schools that I've been through was missing. We don't have that much time to get together and to see how can I help you. I know this, I do this, and it was like we were saying, to show them what we do in our classes that's working for us, so maybe it can work for you. So the sharing examples, the sharing experience, I think it's missing in schools. And also the part, and I can read hearing the kids part, the understanding what do they actually want, what is their input, how is this going, is this working for them? Because I can create the most incredible activity. It's great in my mind, and it won't be that good. It goes like falling down the minute I open my mouth, and I'm like, oh my God. So I guess seeing, okay, this went wrong. Why? I thought this would be great. What happened? So being able to get their feedback and having that time being allowed, because I think sometimes teachers don't feel like they can hear what kids have to say, because it's like a give, and then in the end I set you a date and you'll give me back what I've given to you and we're done. So having a knowledge that this sharing is positive and can work and can be done, I think it's important in schools.
So thank you all. We will now do something that goes in line with what Sophia was saying. So you will be able to listen to each other. 3 rounds of 3 minutes each, and Isabel, my colleague, will launch it automatically. So you will be set up with 3 different persons for 3 minutes. And you will be able to connect with people from all over the world, and you will be able to meet new people and to share your ideas and to listen to other ideas. So Isabel, I'm not sure if you're ready. If you are, please start the cocktail party.